I'm Damien Fowler.
And I'm Elise Lefring.
And welcome to this edition of The Current Podcast. This week, we sit down with Shyam Venugopal, the SVP of Global Marketing Transformation at PepsiCo.
Shyam has been at the food and beverage giant since 2012 and has helped lead PepsiCo's data-driven marketing strategies across the company's key businesses.
On his watch, the company has evolved its approach by using first-party data to build more direct, personalized relationships with consumers.
Shyam has described this transformation journey as a marathon and not a sprint. But we start by asking him to reflect on his own career journey.
See, I'm an ex-supply chain engineer turned technologist, now having a career in marketing. And so for me, one of the most fulfilling things in the last 11 years is how to bring data-driven marketing to the fore of what almost $90 billion organization does. And for me, that has been one of the most fulfilling things. The other one, the older I get, I think my legacy is going to be ideas that live through leaders I help with.
Well, what are some of those things? I mean, that sounds intimidating, you bringing that analytic capacity that you have to, did you say
almost 90 billion?
That's impressive. How does that work in effect? And, if you had to break that down a little bit.
So breaking it down, I think it all comes back to, I'm a big believer in core, simple human truths. And I think what data enables us is to get to some of those core, simple human insights. I think all of us have this mobile device. All of us spend quite a bit of time on this mobile device. I'm pretty sure we're inundated with a bunch of messages, engagement, all that happens on this device, right? So I'm a big believer in today's day and age, therefore, for brands to have a chance to stand out and have a meaningful interaction with their end consumer, they need to figure out how to personalize that interaction. Truly understand Damien for who he is, Elise for who she is, versus I'm just talking to a Caucasian male somewhere in the age 15 to 45. That doesn't quite cut it. So this core human truth is actually what is bringing data-driven marketing to the core, because data is enabling us to understand our consumers, our audiences better.
More generally then, how has the company that you now work for, evolved its thinking in terms of that kind of consumer engagement? And how does PepsiCo, define consumer-led marketing versus brand-led marketing?
Coming back to human centricity is one of our operating principles. I think when you get down to human centricity, you're thinking human first and the role the brands play in their lives versus thinking brands first and what roles do human play in sort of the brand narrative, right? So that has been the shift. And I think the way we have been sort of accelerating that shift is through a lot of data insights capabilities. For example, we have this capability called consumer DNA. So we understand what the consumer motivations are, what your needs are. And once we can map and understand those needs, we can anticipate and serve those needs better. So this consumer DNA has been a big unlock in our data insights journey. So this is one element of it, right? If I take human centricity now to sort of start thinking it more expansively, so then you start saying, I'm not in the advertising business, I'm in the consumer engagement business. And that's usually a bi-directional relationship as well, right? So this has enabled us to scale up what I call as our lifetime value platforms. Sometimes you can call it as CRM platforms or loyalty platforms. I truly think about we are in the job of building lifetime value for our consumers. So through these lifetime platforms, we have now that scale that across our top 10 markets globally, known by different names in different markets, but all with the same basic underpinning. These have been some of the initiatives that have accelerated what I would call as consumer-led marketing. I actually like to call it people-based marketing.
I think I saw your LinkedIn post that referred to it as people-based marketing.
All of us have some fundamental beliefs in life, right? And so my fundamental belief is when you talk to people as people, they respond much better. Like I am a parent of a 3.5-year-old, right? Slightly different life stage for me being an older parent, but brands who get me that I am the parent of a 3.5-year-old, I respond much better to those brands than brands who just think, hey, I'm this middle aged South Asian guy living in Texas. For me, that is what people based marketing is. Like, how do I truly, deeply understand consumers, their needs? Then, once you understand them, then we can say, okay, here is a wonderful portfolio that we have. We serve more than 1 billion occasions a day across 200 different countries. And if we can truly understand every one of those occasions and consumers who are having those occasions, I can surprise, delight them in many ways. And that's the journey we are on. We are super passionate about this. And it, again, comes back to human centricity at its core.
Could you perhaps share some specific examples of how you do use data to improve like creative and its effectiveness?
This capability called consumer DNA, I think we have been leveraging it to deliver better experiences for our consumers. So if I sort of look across markets, US is one of the markets where we launched consumer DNA a few years back, and this has enabled us to deliver better effectiveness of our digital advertising. In fact, over the last 3-4 years, we have improved our creative effectiveness and our media efficiency on our digital advertising, leveraging consumer DNA by high double-digit points. So that's one example. Now, if I go to an entirely different market, I'm going to take Mexico, right? So Mexico, combination of consumer DNA, and we have actually an LTV platform, lifetime value platform called Joy. Using both those, we have been able to deliver better experiences for our iconic brands in Mexico. So Emperador, Doritos, Sabritas. And in multiple occasions, we have been able to deliver, again, higher improvement on our digital advertising, better lifetime value for our consumers. Now I come back again to a different market, Canada. So we have this loyalty platform, LTV platform, Taste Rewards. Once I understand who the consumers are in my Taste Rewards, that is enabling us to build better propositions for our direct-to-consumer business in Canada. It's actually reduced our cost per acquisition by about high double-digit points in that market. And this is all, I'm just saying advertising, right? But being a product company, I think the question is, how are we delivering end-to-end experiences, both from an engagement perspective as well as experiences in store? So we have this notion called media to shelf, like we call it seed to shelf, media to shelf. But how do you connect your pull activities with your execution activities together? So a great example is when we relaunched Rockstar in the UK. We truly understood who the Rockstar consumer in the UK is, delivered personalized experiences to them, mapped it back to stores they are likely going to be shopping at, created the right type of sampling experiences, in-store activation for them. And it's probably been one of our best innovation launches in the past few years.
It sounds hugely ambitious as well. It sounds like these executions are working and giving you the results that you want. I'm wondering how easy it was to get this in place, what kind of challenges you encountered in bringing PepsiCo to speed in this personalized marketing future that you're talking about.
Many of these challenges, I think, and I wouldn't say this is PepsiCo specific. I think it tends to be across all of our companies. I think the basic mantra that we have is use case first, technology next. Focus on business problem to solve first versus trying to execute a lot of pilots. So focus around what are we trying to solve is really important here, because otherwise you would be running a long tail of multiple technical pilots which don't necessarily drive any action. And I am an ex-engineer, statistician, so data-driven pilots for me, I get super excited by. But end of the day, we have to root this into what problem are we trying to solve. And I think if you don't have that focus, we can go a few different directions. Other challenges, I think this notion of data-driven marketing, conceptually everyone gets it, but I think some education is needed, right? I think here is a different way of thinking about the consumers that we have. But the wonderful thing is we have a rich construct within PepsiCo around training, how we make our entire employee base more digitally literate. We have a wonderful knowledge management system, which our insights team leverages called ADA. All this has enabled us to accelerate much of this technology initiatives. And if those foundations were not there, I don't think we would have been as successful with some of these initiatives.
How does PepsiCo stay ahead of the curve when it comes to technology, especially, and then continuously adapt its marketing in hand?
So, Elise, I think the truth in this is media is an ever evolving space. You have to keep trying out new things. So we have this construct, and it's not exact math, but construct called 70-20-10, right? So 10% or some percent of your budget goes to initiatives that are pre-scale. These are new ideas that we have. So we have a structured way of bringing innovation to PepsiCo. One of the leaders on my team, Abi Jadon, leads this initiative. And the way he works through is working with all the partners in the markets, trying to tap into what are some new use cases that we are trying to solve or existing use cases that we can solve better, map it back to a technology startup ecosystem, which is managed through an initiative that we have within PepsiCo called PepsiCo Labs. Labs brings us these pilot opportunities, technology partners, and then we get into a structured test and learn agenda with them. And I think that has enabled us to scale, not just try out new ideas, but scale multiple initiatives. So Datorama, when it was a startup, came through a construct like that. I can think about examples like Creative X back when it was Picasso Labs, Myriad, Vidsi. These are just a few examples of initiatives that came through this innovation lab and then ultimately sort of scaled it up.
Is PepsiCo playing with AI at all? I know everybody's talking about it.
I just think generative AI has made AI much cooler. So generative AI is a space which is new. We are still formulating our exact strategy in this space, what the protocols need to be, because at the end of the day, AI has its own set of challenges. We have to be really mindful of how we scale up this initiative within PepsiCo. So right now, across our IT, legal, strategy, marketing functions, we are forming a cross-functional initiative to lay out what our approach in this space, especially in generative AI, needs to be. And I think once we have a clear construct, then we'll start engaging partners.
How about when it comes to ad buying and programmatic? Specifically, I know AI is just continuously to evolve in that space as well.
Yeah, so on the programmatic ad buying side of things, we have been leveraging, I call this as sort of simple AI to optimize our programmatic buys. There are a couple of partners that are at scale that we work with in partnership with our agency, OMD, to scale up AI-based programmatic buying within PepsiCo. Anlect, one of OMD's subsidiaries, is a great partner in this space.
How then does PepsiCo measure the ROI of some of its initiatives? What metrics or KPIs do you guys look at?
So I think from a broader marketing perspective, I'll sort of break it down into three things, right? End of the day, I think all marketing outcomes, we are tying it back to, is this driving long-term outcomes through penetration gains? I think, am I reaching all possible consumers and sort of attracting them into a category, right? So that's one core KPI that we look at. We do look at long-term brand equity metrics around brand love, consideration, situational salience, etc. So those are the outcome metrics. And then we look at what we call as execution quality metrics. And I would essentially put things like return on investment as an execution quality metrics. Did I execute it the right way? Am I maximizing the investment PepsiCo is making in this space, advertising? So are there things I can do to either improve my effectiveness or improve my efficiency to drive higher ROI? So ROI is an operational metric that we leverage. We do have a capability called ROI Engine within PepsiCo. It's across all our top 25 markets. And that's actually enabled us to look at return on investment across our entire marketing funnel through one lens. So
that's helpful.
Our CMOs, our marketing leaders, our brand leaders can make trade-off decisions when they have to make trade-off decisions.
So switching gears a little bit, PepsiCo and brand Pepsi in particular has always had a very dominant presence around sporting events, global sporting events. I wanted to ask you about those major tentpole events. I mean, we're not just talking about the United States, we're talking everything from the Champions League in Europe to the Super Bowl. How does PepsiCo think about campaigns that go beyond the traditional linear play?
So I think great example around sports. I think I do think our brands play a big role in sort of shaping culture, and sports is an enabler of shaping culture. You mentioned a couple of them: UCL, NFL. We have other sports properties that we engage with. The way we are thinking about this is not just as a one-off event, but as a continuum, right? So there is an opportunity to build up excitement leading towards this event. And there is an opportunity to build stories post that event as well. And I think here in different types of mediums become super interesting to amplify this message, whether it's social, whether it's connected TV, so on and so forth.
How about when it comes to like women's sports? Because I know even this year at Cannes Lions, it was a major topic of conversation, just women's sports coming more into advertisers' catalog. So I'm curious what PepsiCo's doing around that.
So I think PepsiCo is playing a big role in elevating all sports, including women's sports. We are a sponsor of FIFA women's football for our US audiences, I should say soccer. And then there are grassroots events that we do through Gatorade, elevating women's sports. So broadly, it's a huge priority for us. I think it's an opportunity for us and a role for PepsiCo to sort of elevate women's sports in general.
And when we bring streaming into the mix, and we've talked a lot about how sports is moving to streaming in lots of ways, not exclusively, but definitely that trend is happening. How do you think about it through the lens of connected TV and the way people consume sports?
So I think what connected TV gives all of us, I think all the brands, an opportunity is to augment the experience, right? In a simple linear TV thing, yes, it's a good experience, but it's not a full 360 experience. I think connected TV gives you a few different opportunities. It gives you a dimensionality of addressable audiences, which then you can personalize that experience. It gives augmentation through second screen experiences. I know we are doing quite a bit of that with our Amazon Thursday Night Football partnership. So connected TV, in a very meaningful fashion, stretches out the experience versus just a simple consumption on the linear side.
Now, you briefly mentioned PepsiCo's relation when it comes to like digital and retail. What is like PepsiCo's overall like retail media strategy, would you say?
So I would say PepsiCo has been a leader in the retail media space. If you look at the Kantar retail ranking, we have been number one for the last 7 years in a row. And specifically, if you look at shopper marketing, shopper digital, we have been number one for as long or the last 4-5 years, if I'm not mistaken. The reason for that is we have had a structured approach to what retail media is. And I think if I take a step back, we live in a time where the funnels are collapsing. I think I would be the first person to say every engagement opportunity is a commerce opportunity, and every commerce opportunity is an engagement opportunity. And I think retail media truly sort of serves a great purpose around completing the omni-channel thinking that we have. And every one of our retail partners have been amplifying their retail media offerings, which is, again, enabling us to deliver better experiences to our end consumer shoppers. That's the way we are thinking about it. We don't think about retail media as like one more channel. It's like, if I again go back to the human centricity side of things, none of us think about things like upper funnel advertising as end consumers. We live our lives, we are consuming things, we are buying things. And if you think through that construct, here is a channel that serves a really important purpose around completing that funnel. And I think that's the way we think about retail media. At some point, the bigger opportunity on the retail media side of things is it's a space that has emerged across every single retailer rather discreetly, like separately. There is a big opportunity to drive some level of industry standardization in the retail media space. And this is, again, where PepsiCo is playing a key role, partnering with retailers, our peer companies, and industry forums to drive standards in the retail media space.
Are there any other channels that PepsiCo might be exploring or placing more creative or spend into at this time?
The way I think about this is the media ecosystem is changing so rapidly that it's creating new opportunities every single day, right? I think there are social channels that are exploding. There is a lot of opportunities in terms of partnerships with content creators. There are even opportunities on how do you leverage, like I'll take this example around Myriad. It's a partnership that we have where we, Myriad, think about this as a program, can partner together to create seamless brand integration as a post-production opportunity. So these opportunities didn't exist a few years back, but I'm pretty sure next week there will be a new opportunity.
I'm sure.
And I think this is where we have to get very tight on what our innovation agenda is and what we are partnering on.
And that's it for The Current. Stay tuned because next time we'll be speaking with Randy Stipes, the Vice President of IBM Brand Marketing and CMO of the Weather Company.
No one can decisively own AI. We can decisively own the weather.
The Current podcast is produced by Wonder Media Network. Our theme is by Loving Caliber, and the Current team includes Chris Brooklier and Kat Vesey.
And remember,
all of us have some fundamental beliefs in life, right? And so my fundamental belief is when you talk to people as people, they respond much better.
I'm Elise.
And I'm Damien.
And we'll see you next time.